Hey guys, so today I'm going to talk about Reiki self-healing tips or any energy modality self-healing, but I'll do it from a standpoint of Reiki, just because this is what I am most familiar with. So when I first started going in for Reiki sessions of my own, my Reiki master would give me a list of the chakras that were imbalanced. And then she would write just a few quick notes about how I could self-balance the chakras, with the intention being that eventually I would not have to go in for Reiki all the time, which as a energy work practitioner, I would like to see my clients eventually be able to take care of themselves energetically. I do believe energy balancing and energy modalities are useful and they all have their time and place. And every now and then you go through like a really dense thicket in life and you just kind of need like that extra support. So it's okay if like you stop seeing a practitioner and then maybe 5 years later you're like, oh, I need like an energy lift, and that's totally fine. But the point of like learning about self-balancing and self-healing is just so you can be more in your power and you can be more coming from a place of power and empowerment. So if you see me look to the side, I have a little set of notes that I'm looking at as well. This has been on my mind for a couple of weeks, so I thought I would go ahead and make time to do it today. Let's see. So first and foremost, time is love. We have to give ourselves time to self-heal, and we need to be patient with ourselves as we self-heal and balance. It took time for us to become imbalanced, and it'll take time to reverse that and come back into a state of natural balance. So time is love. Be patient with yourself. Things do not happen overnight. Yes, you might have some really great breakthroughs that happen overnight, and that's awesome, but like for the bigger picture of things that a person is usually working on, it'll be incremental, the self-balancing. So I forgot to write this on the list, but it came to mind as I was about to hit record. Sorry, I have a hair in my eye. It's a good idea to get familiar with moon cycles. Learn the full moon and new moon cycles and familiarize yourself with what the moons bring about with each cycle. I like to go through and just scan Instagram and take what resonates. Sometimes I'll go through and find articles on Google to see what's going on with like energy forecasts and see how that applies to my life. It's always really cool too, because when I first got into the moon rituals, I wasn't totally versed on energy forecasts and stuff like that. And it would be so cool because like whatever I was working on happened to actually be what was going on with like that lunar cycle. And then it's just kind of encouraging because you're like, oh, wow, I am in alignment, like cool. And then you just kind of want to stay in alignment, you know? So get familiar with moon rituals. The way I do moon rituals kind of differs from time to time. I like to do a journal of intentions of the things that I want to plant seeds for that cycle, which a new moon to a full moon is roughly about 2 weeks. And I'll just go ahead and plant the seeds, and then I'll just trust that they're going to happen, which it took me a while to learn to trust. So when I look back at my old moon journals and look at the ones I have now, it's just really interesting to see how my train of thought has so drastically changed for the better. And I'll go ahead and do that. Usually I have a candle lit and I'll have some crystals around me. I used to choose crystals based off of reading about them and seeing what they do for me, but now I more so intuitively pick them. And then sometimes I'll just watch some self-healing or self-work videos during a full moon or a new moon if I have time, just like 30-minute video to really like show the universe like, hey, I'm serious about self-healing, you know? And then I sometimes will go and I'll write some of my bigger intentions on a bay leaf, and then I'll light the bay leaf under the moon and just give it up to God and watch the smoke disappear and the bay leaf crumble. Sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. I tend to do that more around full moons than new moons. Not sure why I do it that way, but I do it that way and I trust my intuition. So yeah. That'll be great. It'll help you kind of have a structure and something to look forward to as you set up these practices and little foundations for self-healing to come back home to yourself. Going to my list, the first thing I wrote was give yourself time alone. It's really important when you're first getting into self-healing to kind of just like self-explore. Like there's a lot of terminology and things that people will throw at you in the energy world that you might not be familiar with. And it's totally okay if you don't know what they're talking about. Just take mental notes or little jot down notes and then give yourself some time alone to study the metaphysics of it all and understand how these new words and terminologies relate to your current like self-healing status. And also it's good to just like give yourself time alone, because I remember in the beginning, like I never used to listen to binaural beats and I was like, that's so weird. And like I would have to give myself time to listen to them or give myself time to listen to a guided meditation, which I come from a background where meditation is like not something anyone in my family does. So my first guided meditations, I'd like have an eyebrow raised and be like, what in the world is this? I don't see angels. I don't see my higher self. Like I just didn't grasp meditation. And so giving myself that time by myself to kind of figure things out for myself and to help my subconscious become more familiar with these like new practices was really beneficial. And I used to need a lot of time by myself to like understand stuff. And now it's like I'm able to work in smaller slots and still continue on all my different practices. And it's also just important to have time alone. Sorry, there's a cat scratching the door in the background. It's also important to have time alone because it just helps your body integrate and release and be with you as you're in transition. A lot of people get so caught up in being with other people, they don't really know how to be with themselves. So it's a good idea to just spend time with yourself. Next one says spend time in nature. Nature is so nurturing. I've always gravitated toward nature even before I got into self-healing. And now that I'm into self-healing, like I just full on run into nature with my arms wide open, like, yes, river, water, trees. Just because it's just so cleansing and uplifting and strengthening. And this whole planet and Earth school is very interconnected. So, I mean, when you're not in nature, you're kind of disconnected from a part of yourself. Like Mother Earth is your mother and she is hosting you. And when you don't spend time with her, you'll feel the disconnect in your body, whether you have a label for it or not. I'll go ahead and attach a few articles in the bio for the video so you can read through them about the benefits of earthing. Earthing and walking barefoot and being outside in nature. There are studies that are showing that it lowers the pain and inflammation in the body, and it helps de-stress and helps with sleeplessness and stuff like that, which makes perfect sense because like our ancestors back in the day were always connected to earth and they didn't have nearly all the stressors that we have nowadays. And yeah, their lifespans were shorter than ours. Well, in some schools of thought they were shorter than ours, but they still had a more increased sense of well-being. And it was probably in large part because they had community, which is important, but they also had that connection with Mother Earth. So yeah, I started sleeping with an earthing pillowcase because the little sheets, they're like just as big as you and they kind of move all over the place when you sleep on them. But the pillowcase is cool because it doesn't move all over the place. And I've found that my body does sleep better when I have my earthing pillowcase. I can sleep without it, but I've gotten used to it and I just enjoy being well rested. And then work with plant medicine when you're self-healing. So some practitioners, myself included, I'll give like a list of your chakras and how they're imbalanced. And then I'll go ahead and give you some essential oils to work with on a piece of paper, or flower essences, or crystals to work with. But plant medicine consists of so many plants and you can work with them in so many ways. There's essential oils, there's teas, there's flower essences, you can do psychedelics. Psychedelics I would use for microdosing, and I would not tell a client to microdose because don't want liability and it's not legal everywhere. But I will say from my own experience that microdosing has helped me overcome some huge, huge, huge life hurdles in my life. Like one of my biggest triggers just vanished overnight after one dose of microdosing mushrooms. So there's that form of working with plant medicine, but that one I would save for later in the self-healing journey as you become more aware of your wounds and your triggers and thought forms and stuff like that. Because when you're not aware, working with stuff like that can catch you off guard. But going into the ones that are in my notes, so essential oils, you can either like use roll-ons, which I think I have a roll-on somewhere. Oh yes. You can use like essential oil roll-ons. I make these ones, they're on my Etsy. This is my lower chakra essential oil roll-on. It has a little bit of like dried flowers and crystal chips in it. And then I also have my upper chakra essential oil roll-on, which also has dried flowers and stuff in it. And I bless and empower these to work with the highest love and highest light for whoever is going to use these highest good. Plants are great. They have to respect our free will, but once you bless and empower them to work with you, that's like you giving like a permission slip for them to work with you on an even deeper level. Like it's one thing to use them, but it's another thing to use them with intention. And I'll roll them on like my chakras, so like the brow chakra, throat chakra, heart chakra, and so on and so forth. Sometimes I roll them on my wrists because there's meridians that run through your wrists and through the fingers, or my ankles because those meridians are a bit different than the hand meridians. And then teas are great. My friend Carol once told me sometimes a cup of tea is just a cup of tea. So when working with intention, if you're overly analytical, like I can be sometimes, remember you don't have to bless and empower and give permission for everything. Sometimes a cup of tea is just a cup of tea, and that's what you need to self-regulate, and that's totally cool too. You could be intentional like throughout the week, but it doesn't have to be every day. But you can go ahead and just put your hands over a cup of tea and say, I bless and empower the herbs in this tea to work for my highest good with the highest light, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And just take a breath and imagine the plants lighting up and activating. And then when you drink it, they can go to work in your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual bodies. Another one, which I've talked about in other videos, is you can work with flower essences. Flower essences, I wouldn't so much suggest someone work with based on like which chakras out of balance. That would be more like I would get a feel for their personality and what they're working on, and then I would suggest some type of flower essence. Flower essences work wonders with therapy, so that's also something to keep in mind. Like they are your friends and they will help you work through mental, emotional blocks, definitely. So yeah, there's plant medicine to help with self-healing. Exercise, energy likes to move. Energy is always moving. Energy is always changing. The only constant in life is change. So if you're like stagnant at home, like inside watching Netflix 30 days out of the month, chances are you have a lot of energy that is stuck in your system that needs to get moved out of your system. And it's like, okay, if like you can't move a lot, like I totally understand chronic pain and illnesses and stuff like that. I've had 2 hip surgeries, a torn rotator cuff, among other things. Oh, and a car accident with whiplash injury. So I've had to lay down a lot, but it's being intentional with your movement. Like, okay, I'm going to do like this physical therapy exercise and move this energy a little bit further along in my body. And then when like you're a healthy person, like go to the gym and just like, okay, if it's like an arm day or something, like you could just use your arm day to work out your upper chakras, use your leg day to work out your lower chakras, use cardio to work out everything, because cardio, especially the elliptical, has all that bilateral stimulation or whatever, and has the arms moving and the legs moving. And then that way energy just moves out and moves through the meridians and the chakras. and yeah, that will keep you feeling better and better. I finally got to start going back to the gym about 2.5 months ago, and my body is just so happy to finally be moving. And the universe loves symbolism, so it's interesting going back to the gym and having all this physical movement. There's all this movement going on in other places in my life now. So yeah, and you don't have to go to the gym. You can do yoga, you can do Tai Chi, you can do really light physical therapy exercises. You can go for hikes. That still counts as exercise and movement, and that gets you outside of nature. My next point, hydrate. We are all made up of a high percentage of water, and water is a really powerful energy conductor. So especially if you're receiving energy work, it's a great idea to hydrate, because then the water and the energy will work together in this beautiful combination to move things out and move things in and just uplift you and raise your vibration. Let's see. Meditate. I started slow with meditation, and it took a while to catch on for me. And now I find myself like kind of going crazy if I don't meditate. Ground. A lot of these practices are going to be hard to like really implement if you're not grounded, because if you're not grounded, you're not really there thinking of yourself. You're kind of dissociated, and you're not going to associate yourself with self-healing in a way. And clear your energy, especially if you work in a dense work environment. Like if you do social work, or like how I used to work at a halfway house, or you work in a cemetery, clear your energy. Do the white light cleansing through the crown, through your face, through your neck, shoulders, arms, legs, torso, all of that. Clear your energy. Or if you leave those places, leave a little spray bottle with salt and some sage oil in your car, and spray yourself when you leave. So that way the energy falls off of you and you're not taking it home. A lot of people that talk about work at home tend to be people, tend to be people that don't clear their energy, and then work goes home with them. Waitressing, you pick up so much people's energy, so it's just really important to clear once you leave that shift. Cut cords. At some point in time during your energy sessions, it would be wise to cut cords, especially because if you're receiving energy like Reiki, it goes through your body, and it's great, you know, because it goes to you. But at the same time, I'm going to turn on the light because I think the sun is going down. But at the same time, if someone's corded to you, then that energy is also going to them. And it's like you're not getting your full money's worth. Of course, cut cords when you emotionally feel ready for it. But just, yeah, like the sooner you cut cords, the better. I've had to have 3 cord cuttings on myself, and now I'm at the point where I clear and cut cords for myself with ease. And it becomes easy once you're not corded to anybody anymore. So cutting cords is good. Finding a cord cutting practitioner is good. I do cord cutting, and I know several others if you need referrals. Let me turn on that light, and then we'll go back to the video. All right, that helps a little bit. Okay, so next point, take time to journal and connect with your body. This one kind of rolls over into the other one. I also typed in gratitude journal. I'll include an article for this as well if I didn't lose it. Oh, yeah, it's still there. Okay. I'll include an article for it. When you gratitude journal, they've found that people that gratitude journal once a week benefit more from gratitude journaling than those who do not gratitude journal. And it's also said that people that gratitude journal once a week benefit more than those who gratitude journal every day. So not sure where that article is. I read that one a while back, but I'll leave the other gratitude journal one in there. It's pretty fascinating. It does take time, kind of like if you're taking the herb St. John's wort, like they say it takes like 2 to 3 weeks to kick into your system. That's a herb that's used for depression. Same thing with gratitude journaling. It looks like in the article, it says it takes about 3 to 4 weeks for people to see positive effects, which again, there's the whole time is love. Like be patient with yourself as time goes forward and as you get used to all these changes. Dream journaling is really powerful. It takes a little bit of time to get into that one too. I used to dream journal all the time. Now I kind of do it sporadically when I feel like I've had a really powerful healing dream. There's a thing called dream psychology, and there's a lot of stuff about Carl Jung and the work he did in dream psychology. You can look up dream meanings on Google, or you can look them up and then kind of interpret your dreams yourself, especially as you become more and more familiar with like your self-healing and understanding the subconscious mind. If you want to do dream journaling from like a psychological perspective, it would be good to familiarize yourself with psychology and what's going on in your psyche, which if you've watched some of my other videos, I do talk about schema therapy and this really great book called Emotional Alchemy. Because then you can use that knowledge about yourself and you can look at what your subconscious mind is telling you through the dream symbolism that you find online. And then you can work stuff out, which is great. Like, I think there was someone, I read an article where they were talking about dream psychology, and this woman had a dream where there was like this huge lake of water and she was scared of the water, which in dreams, water symbolizes emotion and energy. And the dream psychologist realized she was scared of her own potential, but they didn't want to tell her that. They wanted to see how the dream panned out. So she said she was scared of the water and left the water. And then in her waking life, there was a lot of opportunities that she was passing by. So the dream psychologist went ahead and had her draw her dream with this big lake, and because it was trying to turn into a stream. And he had her put sandbags in the drawing. And then he was like, how do you feel about the sandbags? And she was like, they feel good. And he's like, okay, well, when you're ready, we can move a sandbag and see what happens as the water like flows. So then it turned into like a guided meditation instead of a drawing. And so they moved one sandbag and she felt okay. And then she moved her second sandbag. And then third sandbag, her subconscious mind was like, nope, this is too much change at once. Like, I'm good. But it was really cool because then she left that dream psychology session and she got invited to like some art event or something. Like, she put herself out there and started like taking some of these opportunities that were passing her by. She started enjoying her potential and her energy. And that was part of like what the dream was trying to communicate to her, like to let loose. So dream psychology and dream journaling is really powerful and useful in self-healing. You can also do chakra journal prompts, especially if like you're aware of which chakras are out of alignment, or you just have an intuitive feeling. And it's really easy to do that. You just go online and type in root chakra journal prompt, sacral chakra journal prompt, and so on and so forth. And then you just write, and maybe you need to do a few prompts for the same chakra, like during a week span. That's cool, because that also shows your subconscious mind that you're very dedicated to self-healing, and then you'll get more with your body that way. Because also, like, since our energy systems become so imbalanced, it's like when we decide we want to do the self-healing, we have to rebuild trust with our bodies. And so rebuilding trust would be something like taking a week to dedicate to yourself by writing stuff out of your body and releasing it from your body. I would be trusting of that. If I were a body, I'd be like, oh, wow, they're really serious about taking care of me. Okay, cool. Like, I'll give a little and they'll like receive a little, and it's a relationship. Cold showers are great for, I wouldn't so much say self-healing, but for just self-care. Cold showers just like help wipe out all the energetic residue and ickies that you pick up in your day-to-day life. I do a cold shower after Reiki sessions, or I do a cold shower if I haven't had any sessions, at least like once or twice a week. It depends what I'm around. I do it kind of based on what feels right. And then, of course, the more self-healing you do, there's going to be points and times where you're going to cry a lot and you are going to do grief work. And that's totally okay. I think I have cried the most I've ever cried in my life in this last year and a half as I've really dug into my shadow work. And at first it was like really uncomfortable to cry because like my family is just very not expressive of emotion. But eventually, like now I've gotten to the point where I'll just come into our guest room and I'll start crying and I'll have the thought transmute sometimes, and I'll transmute some of what's leaving. Which I think it was in a Sandra Ingerman book that I was reading, where Isis mentioned like it's really, really easy to transmute stuff. Like it's just intention. And in the book, I think Ingerman had traveled to a future form of herself, and the future form of herself was talking about transmutation and how they would just say a word to transmute whatever dense energies they were releasing. So interestingly, when I cry now, like that's what my subconscious does. It just says transmute, and my higher self automatically starts transmuting stuff for me. So that way I'm releasing but not polluting the energy of Mother Earth, because there's a lot of energetic pollution. But yeah, crying is super cleansing. It's okay. Time is love. Make time for yourself to cry. Take the time to cry. People that pride themselves on crying, I feel for you, because it is not healthy to be unable to cry. Means there's a lot of repression and a lot of pain there. So maybe you're not resonating with the whole crying part of this video, but just know if the time ever comes for you to cry, that there's people out there that are just happy you're releasing, and it takes a lot of strength to be able to cry and to be vulnerable with yourself, which is awesome and cleansing. Therapy is fabulous. If you are not in therapy and you're like, well, maybe I could do a little bit of like psychological self-healing, like therapy paired with all the other stuff that I've mentioned is a game changer. It'll help you be so much more in your power. The more you heal yourself in therapy, the less power some of those things they talk about in the energy world will have over you. Like a lot of people talk about entities and all these like heavy energies, which I mean, religious programming makes us scared of them. But the more you work through that, the less openings there are in your armor, in your aura. And then you just kind of realize like entities are more so thought forms or disincarnate beings. They're nothing to be scared of. They've just chosen to be away from the light. And that's cool. That's like their jam. Let it be their jam. But it doesn't have to be your jam to have those dark things following you. Or like a lot of people are like, oh, that boy has like inner demons. And it's just like, bro, it's inner thought forms and we all have them, you know? So yeah, get in therapy, heal the mind so you can heal the other bodies, heal the aura, and heal everything. The more aware you are and the more you dedicate yourself to self-healing, the less likely things are to attach to you, whether it be people or places or things. And the more your body will start to elevate and not like feel so like laggy or whatever. And yeah, therapy is just great. And then of course, energy work. Reiki was my gateway into energy. When I got into it, I think I got into it about 3 years ago. And then from there, like I've had Reiki, psychic surgery. I've had some really powerful healing sessions with a medium friend of mine. I've had angelic healing. Currently, I've been doing a lot of resonance repatterning. Love resonance repatterning. That's helped me gain the confidence to do a YouTube channel. And recently I was in a farmer's market thanks to a lot of patterns that got turned off and new healthy ones that got turned on. Energy work will come to you at the exact moment it's supposed to. And maybe you feel weird because you're like, dang, I've been like going to this practitioner for years and I don't really feel like I need it anymore. But I see this other like, oh, I see past life regression and I want to do that. That's cool. Do it. Any healing practitioner that truly is in it for the healing, they'll understand when you switch to other modalities. And energy work is great because it helps you heal past life wounds and not just this wound. It's really good to get involved in energy work. I still do Reiki trades with one of my friends, which was really great for me. And then I do my resonance repatterning. But yeah. This is my list of Reiki self-healing tips. Remember, time is love. Be patient with yourself. things do not happen overnight. And it's kind of cool if you do the moon journal, because you'll realize how much you've grown as you see your intentions have changed too. Some people say you should have your journals all separate, like one journal's for spirit guides, one journal's for moons, one's for gratitude. And some people don't. For me specifically, I have all of my moon journaling and all of my really deep metaphysical healing sessions in one journal. It's like my sacred journal, and it says like, don't forget you're wonderful or something. So it has positive affirmation. And then my other journals, I have my dream journal, my gratitude journal, my affirmations, and some of my written journal all in one notebook. And I feel fine with it that way. But I know some people will be like, oh, you're not supposed to do that. But really just do what feels good for you, especially for the sake of getting started into like healthier self-care habits. Anywho, that is all I've got for you. I will leave links to earthing and grounding and gratitude in the bio. And then I'll also leave a link to my Etsy for those chakra oils. I also had brought out my grounding spray. This has shungite in it, which is highly protective and kind of helps clear all those dense negative thought forms. It helps you spiritually detox. So it's really good to have some shungite around, or maybe a spray if you don't want to meditate with it. You can just spray it really quick. It also has a bunch of like earthy oils and stuff in it too. So it's really good for like your lower chakras. So if you're interested in that, I'll also leave a link in that in my bio. But anywho, I hope this video helped you, and I look forward to connecting with you later. Oh, and stay tuned. I'll be doing a blog this month about my experience with Chiron in retrograde, because it's been interesting. All right, take care.